Hey people, welcome back to the Becoming TV series, where we explore the deep truths and the principles that will enable you to become everything you were created to be, to do, and to have. This is your host, William Awana. So, I promised you that we're going to switch things up a little bit and speak specifically about money in a series that I'm entitling the Money Series. It's going to be very hot, very interesting, and I think we're going to learn a lot together. So in sort of introducing this topic, I think it's best that we understand things fundamentally, right? Because jumping straight into the subject matter of money, that would be good, right? But I think it's always best to build context, right? Because if you just jump straight into it without building that context, first of all, you won't get that richness that will give you the full understanding. So what is context in this case? I think before we start to talk about money, right, how we can make it, how we can, invest it or whatever, what its power is, how it can be used, etc., we need to back up a bit and talk about what actually gives money its power, right? Where does money spring from? How is it constituted and all of that? What are the foundational things that we need to learn first before we talk about money? And in my view, I think it's best that we start to talk about wealth, right? Wealth. Why wealth? Because in my experience, a lot of us tend to mix up what money is, and we assume it to be wealth. But that's not really the case. Money is not wealth. And to put it even more boldly, right, in a way that we can further understand, we also tend to use two terms interchangeably, right? Rich and wealthy. In a normal day context of speaking, we typically think those two mean the same thing. If we're talking about, or if we want to refer to someone who has a lot of money or seems to have a lot of money, we either say that person is rich, right, or the person is wealthy, right? And we use those two terms interchangeably. But truthfully, those two things mean different things. You'll be surprised to know that. Now, what's the difference between being rich and being wealthy? Here's an example that I think we can relate to. I don't know how many of you out there remember this very popular pop star, pop rap star. It was called MC Hammer. For those of you who grew up in the 90s or who were teenagers or young adults and older adults in the 90s, late 80s, 90s. You remember this guy? He was the guy who popularized, those electrifying dance moves. He used to wear what he called hammer pants, and all of that. So he was, top of his game, made lots of money. Music mogul. He had songs that were off the charts, etc. Now, at one point, his earnings in his bank account, he banked about $30 million. $30 million. Now that's a lot of money in any generation. But then in the 90s, that was like a whole lot of money, for one guy, especially in music. And his home, the house that he built or the house that he purchased, was worth about $1 million. Now, so that's the guy was actually living in luxury, right? But fast forward to 5-6 years down the line, in the year 1996, the world was stunned to discover that MC Hammer had filed for bankruptcy. Not only that, he was actually in debt to the tune of, get this, $13 million. 13. What happened to a guy who at one point had $30 million in his account, had a home worth $1 million, had a lifestyle, had cars, had horses, had all manner of things? What happened to the guy that made him go from that picture to a guy in debt to the tune of $13 million? It was simply this. He too, like most of us, confused being rich with being wealthy. And that is the focal point, one of the focal points of this series. Don't confuse being rich with being wealthy. I'm going to delve into this a lot more deeper as we go along, but simply put, what is being rich, right? Now, if you're earning, and by earning I mean, whatever you're doing that is giving you money, if you're working a job, if you're running a business, right? If you have investments, anything that is regularly giving you money is where you earn from, right? So if you earn in my country we use Nigerian naira, right? But let's assume dollars, because this is like an international program. So let's assume that in a month you make $1 million. Now that is a lot of money. Most people would kill to have that sort of earning power, right? So in a month you make $1 million, right? You're rich because the income that you're getting is $1 million a month. That can get you a whole lot of stuff. But if after getting that income of $1 million, you spend stuff, right? You buy houses, you buy clothes, you buy cars, you go on expensive trips, you buy yachts, you go everywhere around the world, etc. And all of that, because you're spending, all of that expense comes to $1 million. Let me ask you a question. Are you still rich? You're earning $1 million, but you're spending $1 million at least. You're not rich. Or rather, you are rich, but you are not wealthy. In fact, let me even put it more plainly. You're actually dumb, right? Because everything that you're earning is what you're spending. Now, this was the problem that MC Hammer had. All the money that he was earning went off into the wrong things. He was buying stuff that couldn't generate him returns, right? He was spending it on horses. He was spending it on whatever type of living, buying drinks and buying all of those things that didn't give him compensation. He was spending his money on the wrong things. And for as long as you continue to do that, you will not be wealthy, even though you're earning a truck full of money. So it's not how much you make, it's actually how much you keep. Wealth, on the other hand, is a function of net worth. Like I said, we're going to delve a little more deeply into all of that. But net worth essentially is the difference between how much you have, how much you own, and how much you owe, right? If everything that you have, everything that you own comes to about $1 million, but everything that you have to pay out in terms of expenses, in terms of debt and all of that comes to $200,000. The difference between how much you own, $1 million, and how much you owe, $200,000, is what? $800,000. So your net worth is $800,000. So you're wealthy to the tune of your net worth, which is $800,000. When Forbes magazine, the magazine that analyzes the wealthiest people in the world, when they're doing their stuff, they actually measure wealth by net worth, not by income flow, right? So I hope this helps you. Rich is not being wealthy. If you want to be in that position where you're sitting on top of sustainable wealth, you have to understand the difference and ensure that you are building a solid network. But we'll get into all of that sometime later in this series. For now, I just wanted to introduce the money series to you, and we're going to be kicking off by examining what wealth truly is. It's going to be very interesting. See you in a bit.